I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Wednesday, March the 20th, brought to you in part by Cargill Emerald Right Now Mineral. Grass changes with the seasons, shouldn't your mineral? Right Now minerals are formulated to allow you to match the mineral feeding program to the growing seasons, the forage conditions, and the nutritional needs of your cattle. Learn more at rightnowmineral.com. The reports have finally caught up, with the USDA National Ag Statistics Service reports. They were one of the offices that were shut down during the government shutdown there at the change of the calendar year there. And finally we're getting completely caught back up on all the reports with the cattle on feed that comes out this Friday. They must be looking to think that it's going to be fairly friendly. The board was pretty supportive here as we get started towards the middle of the week. I would assume that the placements, February placements, will be at least on the friendly side. The problem is if the average of the analyst guess is too low, then it won't be. But it would be hard to place a whole lot of cattle when the gates to the feedlots were froze and there was 10-foot drifts in front of the loading chutes. But let's look at the board on Tuesday. April live cattle up 80 cents at 129.12. June up 15 cents at 122.72. And June, as good as it's been, that was the least of the up traded months. The rest of them, the out fronts, were a whole lot better. And your spot April was up quite a bit, but June only 15 cents. March feeder cattle up 60 cents at 142.25. April up $1.50 at 147.80. Your fat cattle trade has been very, very quiet. Not much at all going on in your feedlots. Didn't even see any deals at all on Tuesday. There was a cleanup deal or two that I saw quoted, just a load or two here and there on Monday, but Tuesday was extremely quiet. And we know that some of these packers are having trouble getting some of the cattle that they'd already expected to come in to the plant because of roads that were closed or too muddy to get them out or something, and they're needing cattle. But maybe your cattle feeders are looking for this week as an opportunity to try to get back up to that 130 that they had always thought they would get this spring and never could get. But that would be a pretty high reach. But you look at Stockman's West cattle auction in Yankton, South Dakota. Talked to them there on Tuesday. They had 2,500 head for their slaughter cattle auction. The drug-free overnight cattle, the best-selling fat cattle that they have, farmer feeder type, sold from 128 to 131. And that was about where they sold last week. And this is just north of where all that worst of the flooding is, up there in the edge of South Dakota at Yankton. But said most all packers were in participation. So that's a good sign, and that's always a good place to look and see what's going on, is in a real live brick and mortar auction. But the Fed Cattle Exchange online fat cattle sale, they've got 600 head on Wednesday. They're all in Kansas or Oklahoma, so we won't be able to really see if the packers up north are hungry enough to reach out and get some cattle. Your box beef cutout values were higher on Tuesday, and we thought that they had peaked out last week, but and then we thought they might make another rise in April, but they're higher early this week with choice cuts at $229.33. That was up a full $1, and select cuts up $1.25 at $219.46, and probably due to lighter kills because of the storm shutdowns and delays that they had. I want to talk about a sale barn that I'm very familiar with. Has been a DV Auction customer, broadcaster for a long time, but F&T Livestock in Palmyra, Missouri. That's up in northeastern Missouri, just this side of Hannibal, and that's way out there by the Mississippi River. But F&T, I always like that name because it's not politically correct, and I kind of gravitate towards stuff like that. But F&T stands for Farmers and Traders Livestock Auction. If you don't like that, you're not my kind of guy. But F&T Livestock, owned by the Browning brothers. There's three of them, Jim, John, and Tim. Their father started selling at that auction. That sale barn's been going since the 1930s. We think it is the longest continuously running privately owned livestock auction in the state of Missouri. And their father, Fats Browning, started auctioneering there in 1945, became the sole owner of it in 1961. They outgrew their old facility, which was right in town in Palmyra, and they moved outside of town to a real nice location, built that new facility in 1978, and it's still nice and very workable there. But they decided their kids, it's the same thing with the auction business as it is in the farming. You know, they watched their dads fret and worry about what the cattle were going to bring, how many cattle they were going to get in there, who were going to buy the cattle. And all of them got their educations and moved off to other things. And the Browning brothers were getting to the age where they enjoyed playing with their grandkids more than they did chasing calves and cows up and down the alleys, and they got an opportunity to sell the business, and they sold it to a local producer there, local family, a young family that's going to run the sale. They're going to stay with them maybe as much as a year, I think John is, and going to help them kind of just get their feet on the ground and show them the ropes on how they can do it, because they want the auction to continue to run for the community. But evidently it's time of the year for auctions to change hands, because we talked about Creston going to be sold May the 1st at auction there. But Clay Myers, I don't think he's looking to sell his. I don't know if he can find anybody tough enough to live in Texhoma, Oklahoma, but he told me at Texhoma on Wednesday they've got a big run of cattle, 3,000 head plus in Texhoma, and a couple of real long strings of top quality cattle. So if you want some western Oklahoma cattle, be sure and get an order into Texhoma on this Wednesday right here, right now, and they've got an awful good run of cattle there, and get a hold of them there and find out what all they have. But let's look at your feeder cattle markets for Tuesday. Your real-time index late Tuesday was at 137.15, up another 40 cents. And you remember we gained 50 cents the first day, so we're doing pretty good so far this week. OKC West had a calf sale on Tuesday, just 2,000 head. But look at this, calves, steers, and heifers both selling $6 to $9 higher on improved weather. We talked about what a beautiful weekend they had, looking for improved weather for the foreseeable future. And maybe we've gotten into spring. We might have another cold snap or two. I'm sure they will in the northern plains. They're still reeling from all the horrible flooding, and they got a little more rain up there. Cold rain to go with, but it looks like we've gotten into spring now, and things will slowly progress and improve. And but I want to show you several quotes, including one from El Reno there, but I'm going to give you several individual quotes, all from Cattle Market Central. Many of these auctions are not reported by any other means, not any federal state market report. These are auctions I don't talk about all the time, but on a day like Tuesday where we didn't have any real dominant sales on there, I just want to give you an idea of the amount of ground we can cover, the amount of the country we can cover. Automated reporting here on Cattle Market Central's database, and put out here on this screen right behind me on the National Beef Wire screen. It gives you a real good cross-section of what's going on all over the country. But there at OKC West and El Reno, they had a fancy set of steers, 61 head of them, weighed 578 at $183. That's about as high as we've seen. Let's go up where they're having the tough time. Glacial Lakes, Watertown, South Dakota, 129 head of steers, weighed 713 pounds at $154.50. Let's go back down into Kansas. Fredonia Livestock, Fredonia, Kansas, Had some big stalker steers there with a lot of condition on them. 69 head of them, weighed 709 at 159 and a quarter, and you can't get stalker type cattle too big this time of year because, you know, we used to think just 4 and 5 weights were stalkers, and then they got into the 6s. Now those light 7s will fit on some 6-weight cattle and might weigh a grand coming off in the summertime, and that's okay with people these days. Caldwell, Kansas. Go over there, Dakota Davis and company there. 121 head of steers, weighed 838, feeder type steers there at $138, and that's a pretty good market price there. Let's go down into Oklahoma. Welch Stockyards, Welch, Oklahoma, had 60 head of 796 pound steers, bring 141.85. That's several dollars over your index levels. And then a sale that we just recently added on Cattle Market Central. I tell you guys, if you got a sale barn, it won't hurt you at all. I promise, I won't hurt you. Just let us sign up, pull some data from you. It's good promotion for your market. I'll talk about them on here a lot more often. Turlock Livestock Auction Yard in Turlock, California. Yeah, it gets here just as fast as the ones that are nearby. It's all automated. 54 head of steers, weighed 773 at $129.50, and that's a long ways from the 5 area feeding region. That's your feeder flash for Wednesday.